was watching my colleague Anthony Furey's excellent video on the Toronto Sun website called Justin Trudeau's Gaff-tastic Week, where he talked about the SNC Lavalin problems, the entertaining of the Japanese Prime Minister, in which he referred to Japan not once but twice as China.
90 years of diplomatic relations between Canada and China, Canada and Japan.
And that culminated with the episode of The Simpsons literally poking fun at him. And I got to thinking, this is really nothing new, other than The Simpsons part, of course, but he seems to be committing gaffe after gaffe and making bad decision after bad decision every week, and it's been going that way since he started. Remember, the ethical problems he got in with over the trip to the Aga Khan's Island happened very early on in his administration.
Has the Prime Minister met with the Ethics Commissioner? And if so, how many times?
Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to work with the Ethics Commissioner and Conflict of Interest Commissioner to answer any questions she may have.
It's just been one thing after another, and none of them good. None of them good. He's damaged our relationship with a number of friendly nations, including China and including India, with that ridiculous trip he had there last year. We're currently having trade problems with China over soybeans, so instead of fixing the problems, he throws money at the soybean farmers. I don't know how that's a solution. And it goes on. I mean, there's so much more. Remember, initially the finance minister got in some inside trading things. And then all the money he's given out everywhere. $300 million to the Rohingya refugee crisis, $125 million to Caribbean reconstruction, $20 million to the Bill and Hillary Clinton Foundation. That was a doozy. And that was about the same time as he told our vets that they were asking too much.
First of all, why are we still fighting against certain veterans groups in court? Because they're asking for more than we are able to give right now.
Then there was $650 million to sexual and reproductive health in Haiti. It's almost it's comical when you start thinking about some of these things. There was another $50 million to Palestine for flood relief, $840 million to Syria for humanitarian assistance. Then there was the whole helicopter screw up in that deal with the Philippines. He canceled the F-35 deal that had been negotiated going back to the government of Jean Chrétien and Paul Martin. And that deal had progressed through the government of Stephen Harper. And then when he gets in office, he cancels it. And then buys a bunch of clapped out F-18s from Australia, who did buy the F-35 project. So much so that these things are going to be little better than spare parts for our existing F-18s. And the problem is they're all going to have to be retrofitted so that they can communicate with the combat systems of the new planes. It makes no sense at all, some of the decisions that he's making. And today we learned that Ralph Goodale has expunged the words Sunni and Shia and Sikh from the Canadian Report on Terrorism put together by our intelligence community. I mean, how does that make sense? How do you deal with the problem if you can't say where the problem lies? Also this week, we also learned that in order to get a background audience for an announcement he made in Waterloo, a union had to pay people $100 a head to stand and act as a backdrop. And then he gets into all the gender equity stuff and the racial identity wars that he's starting. It's starting. He's already trying to paint Andrew Scheer as a white supremacist, and it's just it's getting ridiculous. This Prime Minister really needs to have a fundamental rethink. Some people have been calling for his resignation. I don't know. I doubt that'll happen. I think he's determined to lead the Liberals into the next election. But I also think that if he does, it's hard for me to see how they can possibly convince enough Canadians to vote for this incompetent mess of a government to continue much further. The way he's wasting money and raising taxes on Canadians, he's hurt business. Instead of hitching his wagon to the booming U.S. economy, our largest trading partner, he imposed a 11.2% payroll tax on business, He's imposed a carbon tax on most of the country that already didn't have one. And all it's doing is costing more and more business to leave the country. We've lost, in a report that came out last week in the Financial Post, estimated over $20 billion of lost business just by not having the TMX pipeline done. This just can't keep going on like this. If it does, I can assure you that most Canadians will be praying that October just can't come soon enough. For True North, I'm Leo Knight.